Alright, before we get this episode started, after you watch this, if you enjoy it, please remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video and my channel. A big thank you to you for that. Now, here's this week's episode. Now, after losing my option to hunt private land in central Wisconsin's Waushara County, which started with my 2023 spring turkey hunt, and now using my lake cabin as a base of operations in Oneida County, this added a total drive time of 5 hours, 2.5 hours there and 2.5 hours back. A drive from the cabin to familiar public hunting lands in central Wisconsin's Waushara and Adams County. Adding that 5-hour drive time to an 8 to 9 hour hunt sure makes for a long day. So getting my very first tag for Wisconsin's Zone 7 spring turkey, I'll be able to hunt up north in Oneida County with our lake cabin as my base of operations. And I'm going to save 5 hours of downtime driving. I was so looking forward to this season's spring turkey hunt. I had meticulously gone through all of my required turkey equipment, and my hunting gear was all packed and carefully stacked, ready to go. Now I know I was cutting things close. I had my annual prostate checkup on May 6th, and my turkey hunt starts on May 7th. But with an early 8:20 a.m. appointment, I knew that I'd be home, packed, and on the road up to the lake cabin by around 11 a.m. give or take a little. Well, this would leave me plenty of time for the 4.5 hour drive up to the lake cabin. I would arrive, be able to unpack, eat, go through my turkey checklist, and even get some rest. Well, as much rest as you can expect if you're that excited for opening morning of turkey season. Now the plan was working, just like a smooth running Swiss clock. Then I walked into my doctor's office around 8 a.m. for my 8:20 appointment, thinking if I got there a little bit early, maybe I'd shave off a little time off my schedule. Yeah, shave off a little time, yeah. Well, during my checkup, one thing led to another. It started out with the blood work that I had done for this appointment. It turned out that some of my kidney functions weren't just right. So they decided to run an ultrasound on my bladder. They took a look at my bladder and found out I was retaining fluid, which in turn was backing up into my kidneys and preventing them from operating at 100%. I was beginning to see that my prostate issue that I've been dealing with for about 7 years finally got to a critical juncture. All along in the process, I knew surgery would eventually need to be done, and that time was now coming. In the next 4 to 6 weeks, I was doing self-catheterization to make sure I was completely emptying all fluid from my bladder. Then, the pre-op testing, making sure I was healthy for the surgical procedure. Then finally, the surgery itself, and of course, the recovery process at home. The timing of all this was, let's just say, not the best. My much anticipated spring turkey hunt was over before it began. Now in the end, everything turned out okay, and I was back to 100% by the end of July. So, to cover the RO360's YouTube channel videos for a little while, I'll be dipping into over 20 plus years of my outdoor adventures in my archives, starting with this flashback look on a spring turkey season from 2004, featuring my very first harvest of a 20+ pound bird. Hey, I want to thank you all for understanding during this difficult time that I had to go through. Now, I hope you enjoy a look back at this earlier turkey season when I was still hunting private land at the turn of the century in central Wisconsin. Now, with this video being done in 2004, my early camera work leaves a little to wish for. Plus, at the time, I was using an old VHS-C tape version of a video camera. So obviously, the sound quality and video quality are not up to today's digital standards. And still being somewhat of a novice in taping my outdoor video activities, I still think you're going to enjoy this storyline of my spring turkey season with all the action and the final results. I decided to keep a written journal of my turkey exploits. So let's check out some of the entries for the beginning of the 2004 spring turkey season. Well, I know it's not spring turkey season yet. That does not start until the middle of April, but I'm excited. I received my spring turkey confirmation finally. And guess what? I've got 2 tags for this spring season. Now moving on, March 27th entry on Saturday, my first scouting weekend for the spring turkey hunt. I arrived last night around 6:30 p.m. I could not wait. I took off my shoes, put on my boots, and went for a walk down the trail on Craig's land. I wanted to see if there would be a problem with any standing water, so I would not get any surprises walking out in the dark in the morning. Reading further on, I was up at the sound of the alarm. It was light already, enough that the turkeys might be off the roost and on the ground. As it turned out, that was exactly the case. I started to make more noise in the dry leaves, and the turkeys were gobbling at almost every step I took.
I couldn't even get back to my original blind. I had a quick setup. As I was coming in, I cracked the stick, and he started gobbling. They've been gobbling ever since. There's got to be at least 2 or 3 of them over in this direction. Sure enough,
Watch how many times the turkey stops perfectly behind a tree. So even if it was hunting season, you still couldn't get a shot off. Then a second tom appears. Here's a little lesson in turkey behavior. What at first I think is an alarm putt is not. The birds stay in the vicinity looking for that hen. Remember, I called on the slate call with some high-pitched yelps, putts, and purrs. Now these two males are mimicking that higher pitched call, trying to find the hen from before. They keep calling, even as they calmly head off back over the ridgeline, still wondering where that hen is.
Moved to a new location. This is the blind I set up a couple years ago right on the edge of Craig's property. So we're going to sit here for an hour. My guess is that them birds are roosting up here in these trees. I'm going to look for turkey sign after about an hour.
We waited at this location until after 8 a.m. with no further turkey activity, so it was time to check out around what looked like the roost trees.
Well, we found the roost tree. I was out here scouting around, and right underneath this tree here, you're going to be able to see it or not, but there, and here, and here, turkey poop. So I'm standing right here. Here's the tree, and they're roosting up here. My turkey blind is set right there. So what, 30 yards, 40 yards away from my blind? This had been the tree they were roosting in this morning. Plenty of turkey poop right here. Okay, found one of the roost trees. Okay, found some more sign. Right here's my blind. And right here is where it starts. Got some turkey scratchings here. And they moved up over in here a little bit. They become more and more pronounced As you head in this direction, you can see here, they dug up some of the leaves. There's some more. Getting down a little deeper. There's some more. Now look at this. Right here, I'm standing right there. There's my blind. They're coming right past the blind.
Well, that was a lot of action for my first day of scouting. Plus, confirming the location of that roost tree was a tremendous find. And all the scratchings in the ground right in front of one of my fixed ground blinds. What a great day. I couldn't have asked for a better day. Now, after lunch, I went back out and I was fixing and building new fixed ground blinds in the area. This way, I'd have multiple hunting site opportunities for my upcoming turkey hunt. Now, unfortunately, Sunday's weather was really windy and rainy. Not the best type of weather to be out looking in the turkey woods to gather intel. So I packed up early and headed home. Now my turkey hunt was still 3 weeks away, so I'd still have an opportunity to do a weekend scouting before my hunt. I arrived the following weekend, and I was in the blind by Saturday morning at 5 a.m., and it didn't take long to hear some roost gobbling. Finally, after approximately a 5-minute prolonged absence of the turkey's gobbling, I blew a crow call, and not very well, to see if I'd still get a roost gobble response. And surprisingly, I did. Now, about 15 minutes later, I saw some movement on the ground. I could now confirm the birds were finally off the roost. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there was another bird. Now there were 2 big toms with long and thick beards. Well, with 2 weekend mornings of exceptional turkey action while scouting out my brother-in-law Craig's land here in central Wisconsin, I spent Saturday afternoon on the road doing some road scouting in this general area for some additional opportunities for turkey hunting on public land, just in case. It's always good to have a plan B. Now, I had marked up a map of this area with public hunting opportunities by checking a plat book and maps of county and federal lands and forest crop lands. So I took a drive just to correlate my map and check out general areas from the road. Now coming back, I had 2 wildlife encounters.
Greg, you ain't gonna believe this. Look at this pheasant right on your road coming in. This bird's walking right down the road. I thought he was a turkey at first from far away. Look at the turkeys. Look at that town. A whole flock of them. Look at them go. Right on the edge of the field, moving into the woods. Look at that big old tom. Look at the size of that tom. Hens are moving into the woods and a big old tom with the hens.
Wow, I'd sure like to run into that tom in a couple of weeks when the season opens.
I don't know how many were in that flock. 20? There's 2 more of them. Oh, those are moving into the woods by Craig. There's the cows. There they go. There's the other one. Those are toms. You can see the beard, but those aren't anywhere as big as that huge one that went right across the field on the other side here. That thing was huge.
Now, after seeing that flock of turkeys moving through the farmer's field adjacent to my brother-in-law Craig's land, I decided to head back out into his woods and just sit and watch. Now, I was in the blind by 5:30 p.m., and I was hoping to see or hear birds flying up to roost. Well, I never heard any, but I did get some additional turkey and deer activity on film. It didn't take long after settling in the blind. Within 20 minutes, I had a hen, closely followed by this young Jake with the upturned beard. They hung around for about 7 minutes or so and allowed me to watch and learn some turkey mannerisms and pattern some movement tendencies as they both continued to keep looking back in the direction they came from before finally moving off in a northwest direction. Now, what I found interesting was this was a Jake following a hen, and he appeared to have no real interest in the hen, but was more concerned as to what was possibly behind him. While the hen would pause and wait for him to catch up to her. Either he was too young to figure out why he was following her, or the spring breeding season hadn't fully kicked in for him. Now, I did manage to observe a very colorful sunset. And I picked up on some movement, which turned out to be some white-tailed deer starting their nocturnal roaming.
Put the finishing touches on the blind. Just added a couple of pieces of lumber in front just to break up the pattern. And now that the sun's down, there's the moon. Fitting into a nice day in the turkey woods.
Now, I was in the blind by 5 a.m., but no action started until 2.5 hours later, when a hen appeared and moved off rather quickly. Now, I know I didn't spook her. And then about 2 minutes later, I found out why. That Jake with the upturned beard from last night was hot on her trail. Those two had to have roosted nearby someplace last night. And this morning, it sure looked like that Jake had remembered why he was following that hen last night. Now, before I left on that last Sunday that I scouted, I returned to put a little good luck charm in my blind. A wing feather that I found in the area. I stuck it into the ground, hoping it would seed over the next couple of weeks, and I would have continuing turkey action when I showed up for my hunt. Well, with all this turkey action from my 2 weekend scouting trips, I just can't wait for my actual hunt to begin in mid-April. So be sure to join us on our next video for the hunt and the successful conclusion of the 2004 spring turkey season. Hey, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next RO360 episode. Feel free to comment below, or if you don't want to comment in the public eye, we can also be reached at rappingoutdoors360@gmail.com. Now, if you know somebody you think might enjoy this video series, please feel free to go ahead and share this video or this link with your friend. And as always, whether you fish or hunt, remember, practice CCR. Catch, conserve, replenish. Make sure that that resource is available for future generations. See you next time, guys.